All right, good evening, everyone. We're so excited to have all this positive energy in the room this evening. I do want to announce that this meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. We're going to start off with our pledges to the United States flag and Texas flag, and Ms. Effenberger is going to lead us this evening.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, we'll take a bit of time for a moment of silence. Okay, we're going to start off with our superintendent announcements. Dr. Gutierrez.
Doing it a little bit different today. I typically stay seated, but you'll learn here shortly why I'm standing. First off, good evening. Board members and Seguin ISD community, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to be here. We are a month into the school year, which is really hard to believe, and tonight I would like to take the opportunity to share information and update you on newsworthy items and initiatives. At our last meeting, we were only 4 days into the new school year, and at this point, I'm happy to report that the new year has started off smoothly. I'd have to say that probably the smoothest start to a school year as a central office administrator that I've ever experienced. We've experienced very few issues that are often common during the first few weeks of school. In fact, this is one, as I stated, one of the best ones that I've ever experienced. As starting a new school year, there are usually transportation issues, late bus routes, issues in the lunchroom with trying to remember your number, slow lunch lines. But I do have to say, not that there were no issues, that it was an amazing start to the school year, thanks to the highly dedicated staff that we have in Seguin ISD. We hosted our first Teacher Communication Council meeting yesterday and addressed questions that have come up at the campus level. Our campus TCC reps attend these meetings monthly at the end of their school day, and I appreciate their above and beyond service to their schools and to the school district. Last night, I had the pleasure of being invited to serve as the guest speaker at the Seguin LULAC Council 682 meeting. This proved to be a wonderful opportunity to share information on the district's efforts to improve learning opportunities for our English language learners, and our two-way dual language program at Kinnicky Elementary was highlighted. And a special thanks to Principal Cindy Moreno for being there yesterday evening. As we speak, our Lady Matador volleyball team is now 8-0 and undefeated in the district and hosting Kerrville Tivy at Goldie Harris. These young ladies have been outstanding, and I wish them continued success through the second round of district play. Tomorrow, the Seguin Chamber and Seguin Economic Development Corporation are collaborating to host the Teacher Externship Bus Tour, in which teachers from Seguin and Navarro ISDs will tour several manufacturing facilities in Seguin. I'm confident that this event will serve as a future conduit for our teachers to communicate directly with these businesses and ultimately allow our educators to better serve our students and our students to be better equipped for the local workforce. I applaud the Chamber and the SEDC for creating this opportunity for our school teachers. I'm looking forward to hosting a Key Communicators meeting on October the 24th to update the committee on our academic achievements, as well as the new initiatives that have been unveiled at our elementary schools this year. We are also reforming the Superintendent's Student Advisory Committee, which will be comprised of a new batch of students who have been picked by their principals to serve in this leadership capacity. Last year's advisory committee provided a unique perspective into our schools and operations, and I'm looking forward to getting even more feedback from our student advisors during our October 25th meeting. I'll conclude with a reminder about Friday night football, as the Matadors, now 1-0 in district, have a bye this Friday night before traveling to Crockett on October the 5th. Thank you all so much for your continued support of Seguin ISD. Go Matadors. As many of you all know, we launched a strategic plan over the course of last year. We put forth a lot of work into developing a 3-year strategic plan, in which this is the first year where we are beginning that work. Part of that strategic plan is a mission statement that we live by every day. Our mission in Seguin ISD, the mission of each individual in this organization, is to cultivate, inspire, and empower students to grow. So, in an effort to recognize individuals who live by this, in fact, go above and beyond, we are awarding our very first Superintendent's Award. And I had an opportunity to visit with my team a couple of weeks ago to discuss who would be the first staff member to receive this prestigious award. It didn't take us long to make a decision on this individual who does this day in and day out, not only for students but for staff members. This individual certainly models what it is, what it looks like to cultivate, to inspire, and to empower. This individual you will see on duty at probably almost any high school event. Many times there when they're not called to be on duty. This individual has seen many different leadership changes at the high school level and at the district level, and has continued to be dedicated to the community of Seguin ISD. This individual is motivating, is inspiring, and just having a conversation with her, you know within 5 minutes that this individual is passionate about the students in Seguin ISD. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to award the very first Superintendent's Leadership Award to an individual who every day cultivates, inspires, and empowers, and that's Ms. Nikki Biddings. I don't think this comes as a surprise to many of y'all.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I'm crying. Hold on.
One more, Nikki.
I don't think many of us here were surprised, but I think she was surprised. So congratulations, Ms. Biddings. All right, moving on to board reports. For myself, we've had quite a few meetings. I'm glad to hear it's only been a month, so I don't feel too bad. I haven't been to any campuses. I do feel a little guilty, so I hope to get out there very soon. So other than board meetings and athletic events, I've been pretty tied up. Now pass the torch over to Mr. Holt.
Same for me. I've been to a couple of athletic events, Meet the Mats, and then also attended the percussion contest in Dripping Springs with our band. Other than that, just meetings. Thank you.
I have not been to any activities, but I want to thank all of the new staff people for being here this evening, giving me an opportunity to meet you. And I think it's wonderful that we have so many new people and enthusiasm, and I'm looking forward to this year.
I also have not had the opportunity to go around and visit campuses, but I have had a lot of meetings. Hopefully not as much, so I can go to meet some of you again. That should be it.
Just a few football games and some volleyball games and a few board meetings, and, you know, volunteer here and there, so, thank you.
I think we're all kind of in consensus that we've had a lot of meetings and but I would also like to thank all of you taking time out of your day. We know that you've had a long day in the classroom already, and we appreciate you extending your day a little bit longer so that we can meet you all in an informal way, because you know, we can get to campuses, but obviously we don't want to walk into your classrooms and go, hey, it's nice to meet you, you know. So we really appreciate you coming in, letting us have the opportunity to meet with you.
Mr. Flores.
Yes, and of course, we've all been at the same meeting, so also all the new employees want to thank you and welcome to the family. We know you are special to all of us and to the kiddos, and just remember to keep the kids first. And thank you and welcome to our family.
Yes, thank you. Students first. All right, moving on in our agenda to recognition and campus presentations. We're going to start off with a presentation by Mr. Michael Garza from Barnes Middle School. Mr. Garza.
You want us to fix that way this way?
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you very much, Dr. Gutierrez and board members. We're here tonight to give you an update on our literacy plan that we initiated when we came back from model schools. As you remember, what Ms. Ellis is passing out is we were missing a key part of that literacy plan, which was the script on what we're going to do and how we're going to train our teachers mainly first, and then how we're going to give it to our students. When the teachers came back that second day, we asked for committee members, for our teacher to select to be on the committee as a volunteer. By the time we got done with that meeting, we had 23 teachers volunteer to be on that committee. We've had meetings and looked at different ways on how we're going to present this writing plan across our whole curriculum. Since then, we have had meetings where we've come through and we've created the script. We've also have trained and talked to all of our core teachers, and we're ready to roll this out at Jim Barnes Middle School. This literacy plan, the writing, is going to come twofold to our students. First of all, it's going to help them be able to take a piece of content, a teach from that they're going to have to learn for the STAR test for themselves as they move on. They're going to take that content and they're going to have to put it into a writing format. That writing format allows us to see, does that student really, can they put it down on paper? Do they understand the material? And then that translates to what it would look like on a question on a test. For instance, the one we've been using, going into social studies, looking at the Quakers versus the Puritans. Can they really explain and describe the different characteristics in writing? And then when they turn around and look at that piece and they have a question about it, they'll be able to reflect back to the writing. That will help them learn. That's the whole process that Dr. Sack was explained at model school to us. The second part is, because we're not just thinking of writing as a 7th grade test, it's also starting at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So right now, our 6th graders are having a jump start, and Ms. Ellis is going to talk about this, is going to have a jump start to get ready for the years to come, to get ready for that test, because we're starting the writing process now with them. That's what we're doing. And what Ms. Ellis is going to do is explain the script, because a large part, Ms. Ellis, which is our department chair for our ELAR, plays a big part in this with us.
Thank you, Mr. Garza.
All right, good evening, guys. Without written expression, kids would never know the art of Dr. Seuss. Without written expression, our founding fathers wouldn't have been able to lay the framework for our nation. Without understanding that written expression, I wouldn't be standing before you today, because I wouldn't be able to have read my contract. My name is Alicia Ellis, and I'm an 8th grade teacher who understands the importance of writing, especially as a former 7th grade ELAR teacher. I see the immediate need to develop and improve our students' writing. Our WRITE committee, as it's called, W-R-I-T-E, play on words, is compiled of district members, core teachers, and elective teachers. As Mr. Garza stated, we asked for interest, and never in a million years did we anticipate we had to add lines for teachers to sign up. It was definitely overwhelming and exciting at the same time. Through our mission of getting our kids to be able to think on paper, we have compiled a write process. The foundation for this process is the expository pillar, which is the curriculum adopted, Seguin ISD adopted from Empowering Writers. There are 6 steps. So if you look at your front page, the 6 steps to the process are to read the prompt, annotate their thoughts, plan their draft on their graphic, draft their essay, revise and edit their drafts, and then they'll write their final drafts from there. Given the pillars from Empowering Writers, they will have already seen this given the vertical alignment through the elementary schools. This won't be anything new to our incoming from 4th and 5th grade. They will have already seen this. Additionally, our campus, as Mr. Garza had mentioned, our campus is aligned given that the same steps, the same format, the same verbiage, this is going to be used in every classroom at Jim Barnes Middle School. We have successfully launched the process through our ELAR and social studies classrooms, and you will actually get to hear from one of our ELAR students today. The next 6 weeks we will pick up math and science. The third 6 weeks we will invest time in our elective classrooms. That doesn't mean that the first launch of students will stop writing. They will continue to write, and we will have samples every 6 weeks from each of those classes. So actually, let me just stop talking right here, and I'm going to let one of my lovelies pour out her heart from her paper. This is Hannah Vasquez.
Hello, my name is Hannah Vasquez, and I'm a student of Miss Ellis's. To me, writing is my escape, and today I'm going to share one of my pieces with y'all. Self-growth is like a flower. It starts out as a seed and grows into something wonderful. The time I realized I wanted to grow was in athletics. It was my first day in basketball, and the ball was in my arm. My teammates skillfully dribbled to each corner as I struggled to make it to the end, but this was not my destiny. Each day, I hustled into the gym and began my practice. Let's do this, I whispered to myself as I started to dribble. By the end of the season, I was able to sprint to each corner as well as bloom as an athlete. Someone who also improved themselves for the better was Cole Matthews from the novel Touching the Spirit Bear. Cole struggled with his personal life as well as others, but after a life-changing experience, he was able to change his attitude and perspective of the world around him. Cole began his journey as a juvenile delinquent. Many had tried to help him but failed until the Circle of Justice sent him to a remote island where he would focus on self-improvement. In the end of his journey, Cole had broken away from his old ways and proved change was possible. From seed to flower, from weakness to power, one can grow from their former selves. Thank you.
Yes, the writing initiative will help our writing classes and help our writing scores, but it will do so much more than that. This writing will help our students improve as individuals, and who knows, Hannah might be our next Dr. Seuss.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. That's our presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Looking forward to great things. Moving on to item 2B, we're going to be recognizing positive student and staff-based accomplishments, and we're going to recognize the Seguin ISD Top 10 Readers from the Superintendent's Summer Initiative. Is it Mr. Hoffman or Dr. Gutierrez?
At Convocation back in August, we recognized the top 10 students in the Superintendent's Summer Reading Initiative based on the number of books read. This evening, we are proud to recognize the top 10 students based on the number of minutes read utilizing the Myon digital library. Myon provided all of our students and family members with the opportunity to read at home and on the go during the summer break. Participation in the program was outstanding, and you'll be impressed with the time these students spent on their summer reading. Students, please come forward as I call your name so that you may be recognized for this great achievement and to be able to take a group photo. Now keep in mind that these are the top 10 readers in Seguin ISD when we have 7,500 students in our district. So this is a huge accomplishment. First, coming from McQueenie Elementary School, first grader with 2,207 minutes of reading, Sydney Lopez. Our next recipient is from Weinert Elementary School, second grader with 1,579 minutes of reading. That's Ethan Lynn. Our next student also comes from Weinert Elementary, third grader with 1,568 minutes of reading, and that is Megan Martinez. Our next student also comes from Weinert Elementary, fourth grade student with 1,388 minutes of reading, and that's Isaiah Ramirez. Our next student comes to us from Kinnicky Elementary School, fifth grader with 1,219 minutes of reading, and that's Hunter Hill. Our next student is from Vogel Elementary School, third grader with 1,126 minutes of reading, and that's Christian Vickery Barbosa. Our next student is also being recognized as a representative of Vogel Elementary, a sixth grader with 876 minutes of reading, and that is Yvette Hernandez. Our next student is from McQueenie Elementary School, first grader with 872 minutes of reading, and that's Fallen Moya. Our next student is a fourth grader from Patlan Elementary School, and that's Aiden Gonzalez. And finally, another student from Weinert Elementary, fourth grade student with 739 minutes of reading, and that's Caleb Pate.
Students, y'all kind of move over. Let's do it in the center. And let's stand about right.
right on three. I'll 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. And for Kale Salam, 1, 2.
Certainly want to thank their parents, so let's give their parents a hand. I'm pretty certain with that amount of reading that some of the parents probably had to give up their devices for some time. Thank y'all.
Yes, congratulations to all of you. Keep up the good work, keep reading. All right, next on our agenda, we have all of our new teachers to recognize. So, Ms. Whitman. So excited to meet all these individuals.
Yes, President Thomas Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, members of the board. Many of you got to already informally meet some of our new hires. It was really great to get some responses back. They are also very busy with their teaching and I know in their personal lives. So for you guys to give up an evening, we truly appreciate that. At this time, so they can head on their way, we're going to have one at a time quickly come up. They're going to tell you their name, their campus, and their assignment. So without further ado, we have our guinea pig starting out.
Before they go, I certainly want to thank them for choosing Seguin ISD, for choosing to join the Matador family. We know that there are many other districts, 1,000 others that they could have chosen to be part of, but they chose Seguin ISD, and for that I'm really thankful.
So good evening, my name is Rob Kitty. I'm at Breezemeister Middle School and I teach technology applications for grades 6 through 8.
My name is Jason Cunningham. I'm at Vogel Elementary School teaching 5th grade math.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shaneska Lawler. I teach at Seguin High School, English 3, and assistant coach for women's basketball.
Hi, my name is Sarah Flournoy. I teach over at Seguin High School and I teach English 2.
And a little fact about Sarah, she was one of my students when I was an assistant principal in Northside ISD.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Bressenhant. I teach 4th grade ELAR and Social Studies at Weiner Elementary.
Hello, I'm Lauren Prater and I teach 4th grade math and science at Weiner Elementary.
Hi, I'm Wiley Crawford. I teach at Seguin High School, 9th grade world geography, and freshman football and boys soccer.
Jonathan Nance at the high school, special ed inclusion, and I'm assistant football and head boys track.
Yeah, Nance.
I'm Heather Nance. I'm at Ball Early Childhood Center and I teach pre-K 4.
Hello, I'm Michelle Kelso. I teach at Jefferson. I teach 4th grade ELAR and Social Studies.
Hi, I'm Holly Morse. I'm also at Jefferson and I teach 3rd grade self-contained.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Weaver. I teach at Kinnicky Elementary and I'm 2nd grade self-contained.
Hello, I'm Danielle Stanfield. I teach 4th grade ELAR and Social Studies at Kinnicky Elementary.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Ross, and I teach at Kinnicky Elementary, and I am teaching 3rd grade ELAR and Social Studies.
Hello, I'm Gloria Adame. I am the 3rd and 4th grade ESL Language Arts teacher at Kinnicky Elementary.
Hi, my name is Angela Bennett. I teach kinder at Potlawn Elementary.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Sheila Ramírez. Trabajo en Rodriguez Elementary y enseño primer grado lenguaje dual. So, hello, my name is Sheila Ramírez and I work at Rodriguez Elementary as a 1st grade language teacher.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Amanda Carrasco. Yo también soy maestra bilingüe de lenguaje dual en Rodriguez Elementary. I'm a 1st grade dual language teacher at Rodriguez Elementary.
Hello, Hello, I'm Samantha Palacios. I am at Barnes Middle School and I'm 7th grade ELAR and a former Matador myself.
Hello, I'm Jamie Moore. I teach pre-AP Algebra 2 and I'm the head girls basketball coach at Seguin High School.
Hello, Josie Balzano, and I'm at Seguin High School Behavior.
Greetings, Beth Gerhart. I am Jim Barnes, teaching Essential Academics 6 through 8. I am a returning teacher and am also a Matador. I graduated from Seguin High School many years ago.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kent. I am a special education teacher at Ball Early Childhood Center.
Hello, my name is Michelle Hale, and I am also teaching at Ball ECC as a PPCD teacher.
Hi, my name is Avery Tankersley, and I teach at McQueenie Elementary, and I teach science and social studies.
I always smile when I see Avery. She just makes you smile all the time. But again, the same as Dr. Gutierrez had mentioned earlier, we thank you for taking time out of your night and your week to join us, and we wish you the best school year. So thank you again.
What a great day to be a Matador today. All right, moving on to item 3 in our agenda, which is the audience with the board, and we did not have anyone sign up this evening. So we will move on to item 4, which is closed session, and as far as I know, there's no reason to go into closed session. So we're going to go all the way up to item 6. Which are our reports, and we are going to start off first with our facilities committee update. I believe Mr. Lewis is going to start things out. We got a couple people from the community that were on the committee as well. Mr. Lewis.
As long as I don't have to tell you the difference between Quakers and Puritans, we're okay. All right, so Mr. President and Board, Dr. Gutierrez, come tonight to kind of just give you a little update from our facilities planning committee. We're still in process. This is not a final report. There's many more meetings to go, and they're so excited about it too. So, but we do want to kind of just give you a little update where we're going, and we had some discussions on a few topics, and we want to present those to you tonight as we move along. The things that the board could probably take action on sooner than later before we get to the rest of the project. So right now we're currently working with Pfluger on a 1, 3, 5, 10-year plan. It goes up to 10 years with some different increments. We're still working on that. Pfluger, as you may recall, we hired to help us walk through that process with facilities assessments, et cetera, through architectural and engineering reviews. Those are currently in process, and we're going to be completing those items here soon in the presentation to the group. We are having some of our currently unused properties appraised at this time for a value, so we just have some information that'll go to the committee. That's probably about 30 days out from having a couple of those, and probably 60 days out for having 4 of those done. We are doing an RFQ for a realtor. That's just so we have somebody that we can converse and talk with and ask questions about regarding the real estate market. So we're in the process of doing that. And as you know, we have an RFQ out for stadium design services. That may not be part of the committee. It does have to do with facilities. I want to let you know that process is out there. We're looking at several things in our committee. We're looking at the building envelopes, the campus needs assessment, campus facility use, and the inventory that we currently have as far as facilities in our district. We're looking at all facilities, central office, athletic fields, all those kind of things are all being looked at. We're also looking at our future growth in our elementaries, our middle schools, and we're discussing the use of portables. A lot of these things are all part of a bigger conversation that will fit into that 10-year plan, and that is yet to come. But we do have a couple of things to talk about today, and I'll introduce our first person, Ms. Eileen Manhell, who's going to talk about one of our properties. And I want to personally thank her first for coming. She's one of our committee members and very passionate and thoughtful, and we appreciate her efforts on our committee. So I'm going to, you want me to flip and just let you talk?
Sure.
All right. First, we're going to talk about Juan Seguin.
Hi.
The building, not the historical.
Hi, Dr. Gutierrez, President and board members. I'm Eileen Rangel, and I'm part of the Facilities Committee. I like this committee because it's been very passionate. I like that everybody had a little bit to say about a little bit of everything, and nobody got mad at each other. Everybody was agreeing to disagree, so I love that. I'm here to discuss Juan Seguin. I live on the same street as Juan Seguin, so I get to see that building every day. Every day I get to see it deteriorate, and nothing is being done with that building. And we're spending lots of money upkeeping that area. And what I'm asking is, as the years go by, I've been there for about 13 years, and 13 years I've seen this building and nothing has been done with it, besides when it was being used as an elementary. But since then, it just sits there and it deteriorates, and it's an eyesore for the community. I get people asking me all the time, why can't we do something with Juan Seguin? I think that the best thing to do for that school is to sell it and have somebody who's going to enhance the community by building something or by having something that's going to be worthwhile, and not just have it there deteriorating. So we would like to have a stipulation that whoever does buy it does something quickly, so that it doesn't continue to be an eyesore and continue to be not good for our community. We want something there that's going to enhance our community and something that the whole community is going to have a benefit for. So we're asking to sell that property as soon as possible so that we can hurry up and the school cannot have that upkeep and that cost and that eyesore. We can get it going and make the building useful for something. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
All right, we can have a question Q&A period too, but first I'm going to have Mr. Jeff Kaler come up and talk about second property, and then if we have any questions. And again, this is just an information item tonight. There's no action on this tonight, but we're going to have Mr. Wonderful and talented Jeff Kaler talk about our next property.
Good evening, Mrs. Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, and all you board members. We have done this, we've been working on assessments for several months now, and on Burgess School, the assessment that has been arrived at is that a portion of the building is in the 100-year floodplain. It's too small for a typical school. It's on two separate lots divided by a residential street. It's non-compliant with ADA. It has drainage issues and access issues around and through the site. The building, the spaces, the classroom assessed through an exterior breezeway. Did I say this was Burgess? Okay, it's Burgess I'm talking about. Suddenly I was just thinking I was doing something else. The hazardous materials are present in the older construction materials. The space does not lend itself to its current use. It's non-compliant ADA. There's wood rot present at roof members, and the building envelope is non-compliant with today's energy standards. The mechanical, electrical, plumbing, technology systems need major and costly upgrades and replacements. The structure itself is showing wear and rotting, in particular in the wood and steel pipe framing. The Facilities Committee is recommending that the district relocate the DAEP program that's currently housed at Burgess to another facility and sell the Burgess property within a reasonable amount of time to make that transition happen. I think the committee would have a reasonable expectation also that the names for these two significant schools in Seguin ISD be retained as possible new school names due to their long standing in the city. So our recommendation is that you sell Burgess as you can make plans for the DAP program to be relocated. As I continue on, the future work for the facility committee is a continued review, or the beginner review of all of the other Seguin ISD buildings. We're reviewing the usage and potential of all those district facilities. The committee is conducting workshops to prioritize the needs at each one of those schools. The architects and engineers are preparing reports for our review. We have an upcoming all-day workshop for the committee to review the architect's body of work. We are also continuing our evaluation and viability of Joe F. Sagert and Mary B. Erskine. We are visiting this evaluation that they've made for all the facilities in the district in regards to mechanical, structural, electrical, plumbing, site, and building envelope. After we've received their details, of which they're still going through and working on, our focus will continue on the evaluation of each campus and/or building and developing a priority list for you all to look at that will be part of that 10-year plan. And a timeline for the implementation and a focus for each year of things to get done. We'll then present the Board of Trustees the 10-year plan for updating and improving Seguin ISD facilities. Thank you.
So tonight you just heard some recommendations, no action tonight, but as we continue to gather some information that we would need to move for you to take action to move on that, we'll hopefully maybe have that by an upcoming board meeting regarding one Seguin property, if you so choose to take the committee's recommendation and move forward with that. So I'm here to answer any questions. Mr. Pitania couldn't make it tonight. He's hurt his foot. It's pretty bad, so we sent him home. So he did it at home though. He heard it at home.
Are there any questions?
I just want to thank not just Eileen and Jeff, but the entire committee that we've met at least 7 times to this point. And like Jeff said, we're going to have a large full-day workshop so we can really work through a majority of the information and move this process forward in a timely manner now that we have Pfluger really giving us some great information on very specific details on buildings. And so it's been very helpful, and we're thankful for the work that and the information they provided us to help our committee move forward. It's very exciting as we look at potential growth, facilities, but there is a lot of work to do out there, and we'll be bringing more to you in the upcoming months. Yes, sir.
I have a real quick question. Bill, and I'm sure y'all discussed this, and the facilities committee discussed this, with Juan Seguin being a historical mark identified. What was the discussion on that? I was obviously assuming that came up, and when the sale goes, what are some of the dues?
That marker is permanently part of the site. The marker would not leave that site.
So as far as, so whoever purchases, are there certain things that they can't do, or what? I'm not real too familiar with something like that.
From the questions I've asked and the answers I've gotten, no, they can't remove the marker. Right. But again, that's another reason we to bring on an expert that can answer all our specific questions in detail.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's good. Yeah.
Bill, is it also true that
none of the buildings that are actually still standing are part of any historical structure.
That is our understanding.
The location.
Her location is historical and
Okay, so
has
the
a marker.
building can, whatever they do, yeah, okay.
And so that marker is part of the site
The site itself.
forever, and that has to stay
So
there.
whatever, okay,
But
good,
an old
good.
building is just an old building.
Correct.
It's older than the rest of them, but it's not part of the historical mark.
So whatever, yeah, it becomes of it, that historical marker is gonna, say they put up a new building there, that historical marker was gonna stay there. That's good,
It's part
okay,
of
good
the, part of
enough.
the site.
Good.
Are there
All
any
right, thank
other
you.
historical buildings? Is Burgess or Sagard or Mary B. or any of those historical markers?
Sagard and Erskine do not, I believe.
Okay.
There is at, I have,
Burgess.
there's a plaque at Burgess. Yes, but it does not have a marker on its site. So, doesn't mean it couldn't, but at some point.
Well, I'm going to ask you a history question. I know who Juan Seguin is, but I don't know who Burgess, who's that individual that school is named after. Do you happen to know? Mr. Kaler?
I can tell you. I have the information.
Going blank? Okay. Sorry to put you on the
I should be able to answer,
spot.
but Lizzie and Burgess, and she was a historical African-American community member that the building was named after.
It's all coming back now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's okay.
No further questions? All right. Moving on to item 6B. There's been some discussion at TEA about the cosmetology course in the CTE program. Ms. Reels asked that we kind of get an update from Mr. Schmidt. And Mr. Gonzalez is not here, right? So, Mr. Schmidt, you are on the hot seat.
President Thomas Jimenez, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. I did want to take this opportunity to provide an update on the information that, to your request, Ms. Reel. There has been talk, basically going back to August of this year, there's some committee work where we are looking at, the state is looking at going and readjusting our CTE courses. And this is really for CTE programs that use money from the Perkins Grant. Perkins Grant here in Seguin has been used primarily to build up programs. We've used it for technology, hardware, and software. We've also used Perkins money to be able to provide scholarships or help students for certifications that are costly. We've also used it for professional development. So that's how we use Perkins monies. Basically, there's a new Perkins loan or a new Perkins grant called Perkins, which they're referring to as Perkins 5. This was reauthorized in 2018, which is why we're having all these committees do this work now. And basically what they're saying is that in order to be able to get money from the Perkins grants, which Mr. Gonzalez applies to every year, or somebody in that CTE director at schools across the state, basically they have to meet two things, and this is a new piece, and this is that they need to be in what they call a high growth industry, which means they need to have greater than 17% expansion from one year to the next, and they also need to be what they call a high median salary, which is $35,339 or more. Basically, what's happening is word got out initially because we're very early in this process. And just to let you know, this process, if this were to take place, it would be official in 2021 with an optional opt-in date of 2019-2020. So what they're talking about is TEA really can't say we are going to cut this course. It's the State Board of Education that could possibly do that. However, what we're looking at is funding through the Perkins grant that we don't really use for the program. I can tell you that our stance, in talking with Dr. Gutierrez and looking to see what other districts have been, our stance here is going to be that we are going to do what's in the best interest of our students. One of the things that they're doing is taking a kind of a wide angle view on this, where they understand that can't be a state decision for what programs make it and what programs don't. It has to be a regional decision. And they use examples like there's maritime industry that doesn't really matter in Central Texas as it would down at the coast. Just like there's other types of industry, agricultural industry here in Central Texas that is going to look, or agriculture, agribusiness, that's going to look different than in the middle of Houston. They want a process to be put into place to where we can go through, apply from a regional perspective, and then try to gain traction and actually, if we're looking for funding, be able to get the funding that way. There was a lot of talk recently that it was TEA is going to cut it because people in the cosmetology profession don't make the median salary, and right off the bat, that just, you can imagine the controversy that caused, because they are trying in real time to figure out what are the wages, how do we do this, and I guarantee that if you were to go to downtown Austin, or if you were to go to, as opposed to Comstock, Texas, no offense if you're from Comstock, the wages might look markedly different. So what we're really trying to do is to make sure that we serve the needs of our students. And really where we're getting with that is there is a program, or there is a time period where you can have public comment. In talking with Dr. Gutierrez, we thought that really to be able to write, really just kind of write our opinion and where we stand on the issue, and be able to send that off to TEA and the State Board of Education would be in the best interest of our students as well as our district. With that being said, I do have a few numbers really that kind of show where we're at here.
Here's just a quick, an interesting point, because they stated that salary, that threshold was $35,000, correct?
Right.
But yet when you look at TEA's website for this, the state minimum salary for teachers, it's $28,000. So it doesn't quite.
Yeah. Go figure. So with that being said, last year we had 48 students that were enrolled in the program of study. This year we do have up to 50 students just going down. So basically we also have to have what we call a coherent sequence. The cosmetology program is designed over a 3-year time frame. With the second year, students take 2 hours, and the third year, students take 3 hours. They have to get a total of 1,000 hours of actual practicum hands-on time in order to be able to test for certification. We have 19 students that are currently in that position that are poising themselves to get that certification. And then as far as the career readiness piece goes, we had, let me just scroll, that's fine. Right now, officially at this point, we are at 7 students that are allowed to be able to test, which is up from 4 last year, so I'll take any improvement that we can get. As far as program highlights, these are some of the things that happen. As I said, students do need to get 1,000 hours, really primarily in their second and third year. So they have salon nights, Saturday school, everything that you see up there in order to be able to get experience and to actually kind of roll their sleeves up and start in the profession, start getting that practice that they need. As far as the facility goes, that's what's going back to last year with the new high school. We have what you see there as far as looking at facilities, from the 18 station lab down to the mani-pedi station. I just said it. Mani-pedi station. So that's where we're at, really. There's a lot of talk out there, and a lot of that talk is that that TEA or the state is trying to get rid of these programs, and they shouldn't do that because they don't necessarily have a great, accurate way of figuring out if this is a viable profession where somebody can make a good living at and have that good quality of life. So that's our stance. We kind of talked about it and just really wanted to provide you all with an update on that. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Flores.
What was the first requirement you mentioned? There had to be a what percentage of growth?
17, greater than a 17%. What they refer to it actually as 17%. It's a high demand job. 17%, greater than 70% growth.
Growth per year.
Yes, sir. Right?
That's gonna be tough.
Right. And they're doing a lot. I mean, they're looking at this kind of with, they have industry experts, they have CTE teachers, they're really trying to get as much input as they can, and really trying to do right by our kids. By I think that anytime you try to take a state with as much diversity, just in size as Texas, you're putting yourself out there. So at least that regional lens, being able to do some things within our particular region, may really help our efforts.
Yes, Ms. Real.
Well, on that end, everybody needs a haircut.
Good point.
Yeah, statewide.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not just a regional thing.
Right.
I've been obviously reading a lot about this, and I got concerned when they said the State Board of Education said, well, we'll leave it in our catalog, but we're just not going to fund it. That's a problem. We have this big push for college and career readiness, and then they do something like this, where you come in and take a CTE class and put it at risk. As far as them validating any kind of a salary, I can tell you this is probably one of the hardest industries to get an accurate read on what cosmetologists make, because if you take somebody who's working at Fantastic Sam's or Supercuts or any kind of where they make a salary, and then you've got hairstylists like in my salon, they're all independent contractors, so they're working under DBA, and then you've got people like me who are working under a LLC or a corporation. So to try to get a salary number is going to be really challenging for them. So I appreciate any help we can get in assisting these kids to get through cosmetology school in high school.
It says that we have 7 students that are going to be up for their license. Do you have to be a certain age to get your license in cosmetology? I know some of the licenses you have to be 18, so you do have to be 18. Okay.
And then pass.
And pass.
2-part test.
Any other questions, Mr. Holt?
And maybe you know this answer, Elaine. Is that also we have a few CTE courses that we offer that the kids can get our students can get the certifications, but they have to have their high school diploma and be 18. Is high school diploma also required for state board? Or GED. So we're setting them up. So I'm wondering if this is a little kickback from the institutions that higher learning institutions coming back and they're losing out because all these high schools are doing it.
And I did, like the private cosmetology, I did think about that. That's a possibility, but there's other, our industry is kind of under attack from the state. There's people who want to say, oh, you don't need a license.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've, as cosmetologists have been fighting that for a bit in Texas.
We'll keep everybody abreast of what's going on.
Thank you. Is there some way that we can try to get other school boards in the area on board with endorsing, trying to the viability of these programs?
Well, I think that's something I meet with the executive director of Region 20, I believe, next week, and that's a question that I can pose to him, if perhaps we can take a stance, because we thought about taking a stance as a district, but take a stance as a region of superintendents. One of the things that school districts have been doing, since there's been a huge emphasis on CTE over the last few years, is investing a lot of resources into cosmetology programs, and then to come in and possibly say that they're going to cut funding after districts have spent significant amount of dollars, just as we did in our new high school, to have the facility that we have for cosmetology is not going to go over very well.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez, for talking to them next week. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you.
Mani-pedi, don't forget mani-pedi. Okay. A lot of men, I know they do, yeah. Moving on to our item 7, the consent agenda items. And BE Local states that the consent agenda shall include items of a routine and/or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items can be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items will then be adopted under a single motion and vote as applicable. So on our consent agenda items this evening, we have 7A, approval of board minutes, the board workshop on August 16th, board workshop on August 28th, the regular meeting on August 28th, and special meeting on August 30th. The approval of tax collection reports for August 2018, the approval of proposed budget amendments and financial statements for August 2018, approval of donations received in August 2018, information regarding the purchase of custodial supplies and equipment through the Buy Board Purchasing Co-op, information regarding the purchase of technology and product and services through the TIPS Purchasing Co-op, information regarding the purchase of staple food products through the Texas 20 Purchasing Co-op, information regarding the purchase of paper products through the Buy Board Purchasing Co-op, information regarding the purchase of bread products through the Texas 20 Purchasing Co-op, information regarding the purchase of milk products through the Texas 20 Purchasing Co-op, and the approval of certified appraisers for 2018-19. Would any of the trustees like to see one of those items pulled? If not, do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Holt.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Holt and a second from Mr. Amador. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to our action items. First up, we have item 8A, which is the approval of Special Education Department Autism Grant Program. It's an RFQ. Mr. Hilbert.
Good evening, President Jimenez, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. As is often the case when we have an RFQ or an RFP, the business department facilitates the procurement methodology, but because of the nature and the extent of the technical aspects of various things, this not being an exception. Autism Grant Program Evaluator is something that accountants rarely need to search for. So if you have any questions, we will defer to Ms. Halsey-Dean. She is available.
It looks like you had 3. Yes.
Just one real quick question. Obviously, all of the experts have no issue with the recommendation coming forward, but something that stands out is on the vendor that we're going to, or that's up for approval, their financial strength scored like the lowest. And does that concern you a bit? According to that, it says the current and past 5 years of financial information. So with it being the lowest from a business standpoint, I need to ask your opinion, your input on that, please.
Right. Well, and Halsey, you may want to speak to this, or also Aaron. Obviously, that is a concern when you're dealing with something that's going to be a long-term project. But when you're talking about a consultant, something that's shorter term, it's not quite as significant, but I'll let the two of them speak to it just a little bit more.
Hello, good afternoon, or good evening. The reason why we voted them so low is because they hadn't ran a financial audit because it wasn't required by their, I guess by their accounting firm or however their financials were set up. It wasn't required to run a financial audit, so they did not submit one in the RFQ. So due to one not being submitted, we docked them the points for that. It was not anything due to their financial strength.
Any further questions? All right, if not, do I hear a motion for approval? Okay, Mr. Amador has moved that we approve the Special Education Department Autism Grant Program Evaluator RFQ 19-01. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a second from Mr. Holt. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item 8B, which is discussion and possible action to authorize the administration to enter into an option and land agreement with a wireless service provider.
So we've been working on this for quite some time. The underlying company, the mother company is AT&T. Whether AT&T will actually be the one that constructs the tower or not is hard to say when you're dealing with conglomerates like this. Some of the documentation, even as you read through it, it will say singular, AT&T Mobility. So, and even the different ones I talk to, they come from different branches, and the name of the entity that I'm speaking with is different. But we've run all of this through legal. It's taken an enormous amount of time back and forth because it's such a large company. They have their typical agreement that they really want to work with, but there were some things that were in the original contract that school districts just are inherently prohibited from having, things that speak to it's all of a legal nature, but hold harmless clauses, things of that nature. So we had to really be patient with AT&T while they went back to their attorneys and took their time. So I would say, Dr. Gutierrez, would you agree? We've probably been working on this for close to 6 months now. I would say we really never thought it would happen. I've mentioned it a few times in the board updates that it's possible that it will. I've been trying to keep in touch with them every week. Finally, really just at the last minute before this board meeting, we got word back from their attorneys. I ran it through our attorneys, the final draft. They were good with it. And so just to kind of give you a summary of what this agreement says, it's an option and lease agreement. You're not going right into a lease. What this would do is take, there's an area of vacant land just on the outside of the parking lot on the other side of the on the grind kiosk. That vacant land is sufficient in size, and what they need is about, I think they're saying 80 by 80 feet of land, and the tower that they're looking to erect would be 130 feet tall. Now that's subject to some change. They would have to do some soil testing and pull all the permits, all of the engineering, everything that needs to be done to make sure that they can put it right there. But on the basis of what they know so far, they feel like they can, and that's why they were willing to move forward. The option period, what that entails is they would offer the district $1,500, and they have an option for 1 year to determine, based on soil testing and other engineering things that they would need to do, whether they want to construct. Now, if they determine that they do want to construct, the second they start to construct, the very moment they begin to construct, then $1,500 a month would be generated, and the lease would be executed at that point in time. But they have a year to decide. In addition to that, they have 2 additional year options. So at the end of the first option year, if they've not gotten where they want to get for whatever reason, but they still want that additional year, they can do so for $1,500 for the whole year. And then they could do it a third time. So it could very well be 3 years before they actually ever construct anything and we get into a lease. This is transferable. The land could still be sold, and as we know with the facilities, anything is fair game. So we needed to make sure that the agreement would not prevent anything of that nature. And really all it is that the agreement would have to stay intact as is. And then if they do go into, after the option period, if they do go into a formal lease agreement, it's a 5-year lease. There is an escalation clause after each 5 years. If I remember correctly, it's 15%. So that's all pre-negotiated. And so it's a maximum of a 25-year lease. And you always have the opportunity at the end of each period to not allow them to renew. And then there are also clauses to allow for an exit once you do get into a lease. So we want to make sure that you have as clear of a picture as you can in order to make a decision. I know it's a big decision. It's property it's vacant. It's never generated any revenue, and it is a small piece of property. So there's a potential there. And based on the conversations I've had with their representatives and how motivated they were for us to get this on the agenda this time, after all the time that it took for them to get to this point, one would think that they do intend to move forward quickly and not hesitate for 3 years. But I can't know that for a fact.
Madam President. I move
Mr.
that we authorize administration to enter into an option and land lease agreement with the wireless service provider as discussed prior.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Holt and a second from Mr. Flores. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
A question?
On that piece of land, until they decide to do something with it or start construction, can you store something there? Is it still usable by the district? Or it has to be?
Well, if they execute the option, then it's not that we couldn't put anything out there. It would just have to be something that we could move if they intend to actually construct. And we couldn't get in the way of any testing or things of that nature that they would need to do. I don't think that precludes us from being able to park vehicles out there if there's an event that would require that, or something of that nature. But we wouldn't be able to actually do something that would interfere with what they need to do during the option period. So we probably need to have some discussions with them if we needed that.
Mr. Jenkins?
Mr. Hilberg, have you researched what other companies are paying and if we're getting a good deal on this as far as leasing goes?
Well, that's what I actually did in talking with Mr. Pizzagna was just look at the size of area that we're talking about, and it's a very small area. There is speculation, this is AT&T and it's a cell tower. There's all kinds of money flowing through this thing. But once you start working with these individuals that are looking for these sites, I mean, we're just a number. We really are. It was a real challenge to even get them to respond back when we did have some interest, because they moved on to so many other sites. One of the things I think that attracted them was the fact that this is a school district, and there is some value from their perspective in having a relationship with a school district. They originally were offering $500 a month in rent. And we came back and said, that's even less than what we're getting from the coffee kiosk that's out there. So you've got to be able to do better than that, at least be comparable to that. And so we were able to get them up to $1,500 a month, which is right on par with what we're getting with the On the Grind. So that's the analysis and the logic that was behind it. But we can always go back to them and ask for more if you want to do that.
I'd like to put my 2 cents on this. I deal with AT&T a lot, and at Continental right now, we just recently within the last year went through the same deal. AT&T popped up a new tower off of Cordova, and with the new technology, they're popping up towers left and right. They originally had one on the east side, closer to 123 tower there. They were going to renegotiation with the landlord there that owns all that property. The landlord bumped up the rent, and AT&T just said, well, we'll forget it, we'll move on. So they just moved on to another site. So to answer your question shortly, it is a good deal, right, that we're getting with those guys right now. So it'll be a win-win for the district. So hopefully they will get this moving sooner than later.
Once the tower is built, you can renegotiate when the appropriate time comes.
That's your direction. So do as you.
This is not going to block the view of the water tower.
I have my comments.
Can we put a matador on the
put
tower?
some lights on the tower that say whatever you want to say.
Any further comments or questions? So we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Hilbert.
Absolutely.
Moving on to item C, which is to, we have a resolution approving the roof and exterior repairs and parking expansion project of the facilities of the Guadalupe Appraisal District.
And we have a unique privilege this evening. We actually have a representative. It's the chief appraiser from Guadalupe County Appraisal District. We have, and Mr. Amador, I'm sure you know her quite well, Miss Jamie Osborne is here with us. I don't know that you'll have any questions for her, but at least certainly like for you to know who she is. She does a lot of hard work for your district. She's standing right over here. If you do have any questions, she probably will be the one to answer them because I'm not real familiar with the work they're wanting to do, but it's a technicality that you have to approve by resolution.
Motion for approval.
Second.
I have a motion for approval from Mr. Flores and a second from Mr. Holt. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Jenkins is absent at the moment. All right, moving on to item 8D, we have the Seguin High School building plaque. We have looked at different options for this building plaque, and it's finally up for adoption. Mr. Hoffman? Mr. Hoffman, do you have anything for us?
This is Thomas Menez, Dr. Gutierrez, trustees, as you will recall, back on August 16th, just over a month ago, during the board workshop, we presented a plaque design for y'all to consider and review. We did take comments. Mr. Holding suggested instead of using Board of Education, that we use Board of Trustees. You'll see that change reflected in your exhibit. And Mr. Jenkins wanted to make sure that we included his middle initial W. That's been added to his name. Those were the two changes that were made to the plaque that we presented during the workshop.
And when the actual plaque is made, the 2017 will be much larger, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
I think we've noted down at the bottom, this is not to scale, so this is just a mock-up for y'all to look at and to consider.
All right, Mr. Flores?
Yeah, I have a question now. I was out of town for business during this workshop that we had. So asked the board members and administration, was there normally when plaques are erected, the board that is of the groundbreaking is usually part of that. Was there any discussion on that? Because there's some members on here, some individuals that's an individual that's not on here that I just wonder if you had any consideration. That was the interim superintendent, Dr. Gododo. Was there any discussion with during that time frame of the groundbreaking? Because we have the names for the groundbreaking.
Mr. Flores, the names that we included on the draft were the sitting board back in 2013, fall of 2013 when the school was opened and voted on by the trustees, and then again on August 31st of 2017 when the school was actually open.
Correct. And I've known from the past we've done the ground breaking, which usually a lot of the time it's the current board members are still present administration, but obviously there was no discussion on that.
There was only discussion about the past officials down at the bottom, the second line from the bottom. It just states that, I mean, that could, if so desired, I'm sure we could probably add that on there. I don't know.
Just discussion there, question there.
Yes, Mr.
I really propose that right after contract, we will delete everything after that.
After what? I'm sorry?
Department with Kaler, a joint venture, let that be the last part, the last sentence. It's a great A to B in that, of everything in between. I'd like to have it deleted.
May I ask why?
I just read it.
Okay. No. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'd rather it not.
Ms. Reel?
How soon do we need to have a decision on this? Because I think we've got some discussion. I don't think we really discussed this a whole lot.
We didn't stop to think about Dr. Gordo at all, so, yeah. Oh, that's right, Bill Lewis was an interim as well.
Because this
Yeah.
actually, I mean, I was going to make a motion to accept it, but to take 2 names off. Stetson Roan and the Arrow Architect.
But we need discussion on that, because why would you want to take off the architect?
Well, I just think just
This might be an item for a
Yeah,
future
I
board
think-
workshop.
Yeah, definitely.
Very, very soon, because we got 2 board members leaving. So we need to discuss this further.
I think out of the courtesy of all the individuals that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this. If we're going back to 2013, I think it's very important that we keep those.
So you didn't get an opportunity to look at this before the workshop? I know you weren't at the workshop, but you didn't get a chance to look at it?
No, I didn't receive any other, any minutes or any
Okay.
discussion about that after the workshop, so
All right.
what was discussed.
That
I think
makes
that's
sense.
important too.
right.
Before is one thing, and then after what was discussed in between the board members, so I think that's what I would take to, into consideration, the discussion everybody had.
So, Ms. Reel, are you saying you'd like to table this?
I move that we table this until we can figure out another time.
Actually, we need to postpone it, table it, I mean, we'd readdress it tonight. We need to postpone it to a definite date.
Okay, postpone it to, I don't know if we have a definite date in mind, but,
And I would say the first available option that we could get,
all right,
because this needs to be handled, as you said.
all right. So I have a motion from Mr. Holt to postpone it
I'll second.
to the near future. A second from Mr. Flores. Any further discussion?
I just ask that it be within the next month so we can make sure that we get it approved at the next board meeting so it can be moved forward. So, I mean,
I agree. Okay.
Agreed.
All in favor? Raise your right hand. Okay. Opposed? Same sign?
Thank you.
You deserve. Okay, 7-0. Okay, moving on to our personnel action, professional employees. Ms. Whitman, wrapping things up for us.
Good evening again. We have no elections at this time tonight. We have the resignations listed as below. As you know, in your update last week, we've had some movement, unexpected movement at our high school. So we are actually in the process of recommending a Spanish teacher. We found one yesterday, so we feel pretty confident there. But those 2 that hit us unexpectedly, one is relocating out of state, one is being deployed with the National Guard and chose to resign, which we did get the paperwork to confirm. So that hit our Spanish department really hard. And then Ms. Guzman is in the process of recommending a 3rd grade teacher for that position, and high school science as well as Ms. Biddings. So unexpected hit on the high school. So we're working hard to fill those vacancies.
Any questions? No? Motion for approval? Or to, yeah, we have to acknowledge it. Yeah.
Madam President, I move that we acknowledge the resignation as presented by the HR.
All right. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Other than an upcoming board workshop to discuss the plaque, or do we have any other board comments? Anybody have anything they'd like to announce or discuss? No.
I will be attending the Tessa TASB conference as a delegate for this board. Is there any recommendations for at-large candidates that we have endorsed or would like to endorse? I know it's been brought forward that there's one from Victoria requesting our support, but I have not heard any feedback from anybody on prior at-large candidates.
I had received a phone call from the board president from Victoria, and she was asking for our support. She's an at-large. So I know her. I've met her. I appreciate her dedication. She's been working with the school district down there for probably a couple of decades. So it's been a while.
So did we already submitted a name from the district, didn't we?
This is an at-large.
But the at-large, so that'll be voting by the committee, right? So yeah, the delegate committee. Okay. Good.
So I just want to make sure that...
Yeah, I don't know.
It was Tammy Keeling. Yeah. Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
For the next board meeting, I'd like to see a report on our current scoreboard funding, as far as the advertising, what's being done to secure advertising, and maybe trend it over the last couple of years and see where we're at with that.
And
Yes, sir.
And with that also, we also, since it'll be along the same size, is what the rental of that same facility has come with since it's been installed. Because I know the rental, we've had a numerous amount of rentals go, more rentals because of more events here. So that would go along with it as far as, because that's generating revenue as well.
Yes, sir.
With that, I just have one more thing. Dr. Gutierrez, just need an update on the Diversity Council. When was there a meeting scheduled again? I don't know. I know we had a report, but regular meetings.
The last 2 years, we've been doing an annual.
Okay,
meeting
just the
with
annual.
staff.
Okay, I just, all right. So just make sure we follow. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
And a second, a motion, a second, all in favor? All right, we will now adjourn. It is 7:55.